I am Jin Ha. I'm the executive director here at Social Planning Toronto. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with SPT, that's the acronym we call ourselves by, Social Planning Toronto provides research and policy analysis, and we support community and civic education and engagement. We're all hands on deck during the city budget process, the annual City of Toronto city budget process. We work with residents, community organizations, and groups to shape the conversation about how we need to build a better, more livable, just, and equitable city, and what public and community services and city infrastructure is needed to achieve a better city. So we do this by providing just-in-time budget analysis, mainly through our City Budget Watch blog posts. And if you haven't already signed up to those, we'll share info on how you can do that. We bring people together through events and workshops like these and support more people to confidently engage in the city budget process, a process that can be quite intimidating otherwise. And we also enable folks to come together and take joint action, whether that's through a rally or a joint letter or sharing joint messaging about what communities need for a better budget. So today's city budget session, will cover the basics around the city budget, what the budget process looks like, what it includes, the impact of community engagement in the process, and some early thoughts ahead of tomorrow's budget launch on what we've heard so far about the 2026 city budget. Before we get into that, I'd like to start by acknowledging the land we are on today, also known as Tekaronto, and the current stewards of this land, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We acknowledge the historical relationships between the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy who have lived in this territory. This land is also home to many Indigenous nations, including across Turtle Island, including Inuit peoples and the Métis Nation. And Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 and the Williams Treaties. Many of us, including myself, came here as settlers, migrants, or refugees in this or past generations. And we acknowledge those who came here involuntarily as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, and we pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. African peoples have been contributing to life on traditional Indigenous territories since the early 1600s, and we acknowledge that Indigenous sovereignty and Black liberation movements hold significant linkages then and continue to this day. I'm a first generation immigrant from South Korea. My parents and three siblings moved to Toronto in the mid 70s when I was a baby. My family would not have been able to immigrate to Canada under current immigration rules. It's my privilege to work for an organization like Social Planning Toronto and to get to connect with all of you and to advocate for a better city. As we fight for a better city, I invite all of us, including myself, to think about the ways in which the city budget can better meet the needs of Indigenous communities and groups. From increased funding to Indigenous organizations within a framework respecting Indigenous sovereignty, autonomy, and leadership, to housing and shelter services specifically for Indigenous communities, to addressing poverty and rights to spaces and land, and more. SBT is working closely with Indigenous organizational partners to ensure we continue to improve how we embed truth, reconciliation, and Indigenous sovereignty into our work. This work continues through the budget process and beyond. So I want to let you all know that we are recording this session and we'll be sharing the video a few days after, so feel free to stay off camera if you prefer. We encourage all participants now to introduce themselves over the chat. Feel free to share your name, your pronouns, the neighborhood that you are a part of, and anything else you'd like to share about yourself. ASL interpretation and closed captioning is being provided. So just a reminder, including a reminder to myself to speak slowly to support interpreters to translate effectively. I'll let you know that the slide deck we're sharing today will be shared with all participants after the event. So next, I'm going to introduce my wonderful colleagues, Beth Wilson and Israt Ahmed. Beth is the senior researcher and policy analyst, and Israt is the senior community planner, and they will be presenting the budget basics and an overview of the importance of community engagement in the budget process, as well as some early news on the 2026 city budget, as well as key dates and how you can participate. So, Beth, up over to you.
Thanks so much, Jen, and thanks everyone for joining us this evening. So I'm going to start us off with some budget basics, some information about the City of Toronto budget, and then later on I'll talk specifically about the 2026 budget. So the City of Toronto has an annual budget process, and it is one of the most important sets of decisions that the mayor and council make all year. They really decide priorities for the city because they decide what's going to get funded, what programs, what services, infrastructure, by how much, if any services are going to be cut or reduced, and also how services are going to be funded and how revenues are going to be raised. And City of Toronto has such an important role to play in many public and community services that touch Toronto residents' lives every day and are absolutely essential to moving our city forward in terms of creating more livable, equitable, and sustainable cities. So these decisions are so important, and community engagement and advocacy in the process helps to push council in particular directions to create a better city. So the City of Toronto budget is very large. It's one of the largest budgets in the country, and it's larger than many provincial budgets as well. Last year's operating budget was 18.8 billion, and the 10-year capital plan was nearly 60 billion. And I'm going to talk about what those things are. The operating budget, that's the part of the budget that is focused on day-to-day spending on programs and services. So you think about your recreation programs or parks maintenance, public health programs and services, transit, the TTC, and police and other emergency services. So that's all part of the operating budget. And municipalities have some restrictions. So they have operating budgets where they have to balance the budget. They need to ensure that their revenues match their expenses, and they can't take on debt for the operating budget. And that is unlike the province or the federal government. And the capital budget and the 10-year capital plan is all about infrastructure to support services. So you need that infrastructure to provide those programs and services. And some examples are construction and repair of transit. So this could be subway stations, building new stations, or purchasing buses, streetcars, or subway cars. Any kind of major repair or renovation is going to be part of the capital budget. Major repair in roads and bridges, public buildings could be major renovation or creation or building of new public buildings if you think about libraries or community recreation centers. And also parks, if we're creating new parks and or doing major redevelopment of parks, that's all under the capital budget and the 10-year capital plan. Unlike the operating budget, the City of Toronto municipalities can take on debt to fund the capital plan. They have set by City Council the level of debt that they'll take on, so they're careful about that. They're very high credit ratings, so they're able to finance that debt at lower interest rates than would be the case for individuals. And so it's part of investing in our city is the capital side of the budget. The um, the city budget has three rate-supported programs, and these are funded almost entirely by rates or by user fees. This includes Toronto Water, where owners of properties pay their water bill, and that might be for tenants that might be supported through their rent, those payments of their water bill. Solid waste management is garbage, green bin, and recycling. And Toronto Parking Authority, those are those green P parking lots. So you're paying for parking if you park a car there. And those are all rate supported programs. And the rest of the budget, the great majority of the city budget, is tax supported. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about those budgets. When we look at the top revenue sources for the whole City of Toronto budget, property taxes are very important, and revenue from property taxes brings in 30% of total revenues, and this is from last year's budget. The federal and provincial funding is 25%. And so some programs are cost shared, such as there are public health programs where the provincial government contributes to those programs. And so that's about a quarter. And we always want to see the federal and provincial funding increase to make the city more financially sustainable. Rates that we talked about, rates and fees for water, garbage recycling, green peak parking are 12% of total revenues. But all of the revenues for those particular programs go to support those programs. So someone pays a water bill, that goes to Toronto Water. If they pay for parking, that goes to the Toronto Parking Authority. Reserve accounts make up 7%. So when when the city raises revenues or receives funding from provincial or federal government, they might use some of that funding and then they put it in the rest of it in reserve accounts and they draw on it when they need it for the budget to carry out and provide different programs and services. And transit fares make up, the TTC fares make up 6% of revenue sources. So those are some of the top ones. Now, when we pay for the TTC, all the revenue from the fares that we pay go to TTC operations. They don't go to any other part of city services. So that gives you a bit of an overview of some of the City of Toronto basics. I will turn it over to Israt, and then I'll come back to speak about the 2026 city budget.
Thanks, Beth. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm pleased to share how advocacy has contributed to our recent budget successes. In 2024, we secured the largest annual funding for new and enhanced services in at least a decade, along with significant funding for 2025. The city has negotiated a new agreement with the province, which has improved our financial position. This includes $2 billion in savings over 10 years from the Gardner upload. Transit riders have benefited from 2 years of fare freezes, expanded services, 2-hour trips with a single ticket, and free travel for children, which were not previously available. The Toronto Community Crisis Service expanded to a 24/7 citywide service, resulting in greater effectiveness. We're pleased that the Toronto Public Library is implementing an ambitious open hours plan. Significant new investment has been made in the Universal Student Food Program. Funding has been increased for tenant support, eviction prevention, affordable housing, shelters, drop-in centers, climate action, community services, paramedic and fire services.
Thanks, Israt. I'm going to speak to this year's budget, the 2026 City of Toronto budget. and start with some of the budget challenges, which you might have heard about in the news or from the mayor or members of council. The city has ongoing budget challenges, and there are particular ones this year as well. So revenue from the TTC is down. The ridership isn't as high as they would. The ridership growth hasn't been there. Tax revenue from real estate sales is down. So the market in real estate is down, which impacts the revenues that the City of Toronto raises through the municipal land transfer tax. So they have less revenue there. And also there are limits on how much revenue the city can raise from property taxes. And it's always a bit of a restraint. I'll give you a little bit of information here. Around late last year, the mayor moved a motion and city council supported it to increase the municipal land transfer tax for luxury homes. So if you're purchasing a home that is worth over $3 million, there is a small increase in the amount that you need to pay in municipal land transfer tax, which goes to support a number of important programs and services and is a small recognition of the big, deep inequities in our city. So that passed, and that's going to be part of the budget. They also, just today, just a couple of hours ago, it was in the news what we expect to see in terms of the property tax increase. So a very low property tax increase, 2.2%. So that means there's less revenue that will come from property taxes. Not less revenue, but it's not a large increase, of course. So there are two parts of that property tax increase, 2.2%. There's a 0.7% property tax increase, and then there's a 1.5% increase to the city building fund. And the city building fund raises revenues for affordable housing and for public transit infrastructure. And it's been part of the city's property taxes for many years. So there will be some additional funding there, which is good to see. The federal and provincial governments, there's an ongoing issue in terms of paying their fair share. We have seen in recent years the mayor negotiating a deal with the provincial government, a new deal for Toronto, which improved its financial situation. So we need another deal like that, and also for the federal and provincial government to really increase their support for cities broadly. One of the differences is federal and provincial governments have income tax powers, and they can raise revenue from income tax. That's not an option for the City of Toronto. So the City of Toronto needs new revenue sources and powers to have the kind of funding that it needs to provide critical programs and services. So that's an ongoing challenge, and it's certainly one this year as well. We have some early news. So as Jen was mentioning, the budget launch is tomorrow. We're going to learn a lot. It's at 11 a.m. If you're at City Hall, you can go and watch the meeting. If not, you can also watch it on YouTube, on the City of Toronto's YouTube page. You can watch it live or after it's over. There'll be a recording of that meeting and the budget launch. There are some things we know about the budget. There are parts of the budget that come out earlier in the year. And so we know about some of these different areas of the budget. I think thing to stress is that these budget submissions are not final. It is not final until City Council votes in February. So there's some really promising parts that we've seen of the budget so far, despite these challenges with raising revenues. So in the Toronto public health budget, there's a $15 million funding increase that's proposed to continue implementation of the Universal Student Food Program. And that's for student nutrition programs in schools. And last year, City Council voted and supported a $6 million increase. So 15 million, it's a significant and important increase to those student food programs. There's also about 3.7 million in capital that's related to refrigerators, freezers, food storage for the student nutrition programs. So if if city council supports this budget, then what that funding will mean is that the student nutrition programs across the city will be able to serve many more students. A total of over 327,000 students across the city, which is an increase of more than 32,000 additional students than in 2025. It'll provide over 61.6 million meals and snacks, and that's an increase of over 6 million more than in 2025. Supporting 841 school communities, and that's an additional 155 over last year. And being able to serve more students through the existing student nutrition programs and also supporting the food safety program. So it's a real bold plan for expansion of student nutrition and pretty exciting to see despite these, challenges with the budget. The Toronto Public Library budget submission is also available early. There they have had a very bold program, a plan to expand and open all 100 library branches across the city to be open 7 days per week. And so this is the third and final year of that expansion plan. And there is a proposal in that budget that will support all 100 branches to be open 7 days a week by summer 2026. The library board has excellent data on when you build it, they will come. Like you see when libraries are open more, there is just a significant increase in the use of libraries and in people borrowing from the collections as well. So great to see that in the budget. There's also some additional funding for financial empowerment service, and this is to support people with low income around financial literacy. And the big thing about it that I think is really important for folks who are dealing with poverty is that it helps people to ensure that they're able to access all the financial benefits that they're entitled to. And often people may not know that there are financial benefits that they can apply for and receive. And that is something that service does. So they'll expand that. Social and crisis support services in libraries, particularly in Scarborough libraries, were mentioned in the board meeting. We don't know which ones, but they specifically mentioned Scarborough. And a new program that they're introducing to reduce seniors' social isolation. And that's a community librarian program to connect with seniors. And it is funded from the Toronto Public Library Foundation. So it's funded through donations, and it's the largest gift that the foundation has made. So over a 5-year period, they'll expand this program and build it. And it's an over $7 million donation from the foundation that's going to support it. So some really positive things we're seeing in the Toronto Public Library budget, but also negative things and things that have to be addressed in future years. So most of the divisions, the boards, they have been asked to meet certain targets to restrict the increase in their budget. And so to do that, the Toronto Public Library Board voted to freeze the collections budget, to freeze it for the purchase of new materials. And it's effectively a cut because those materials, when they're buying books or other resources, they cost more over time. So the board has said and the staff have said it could impact wait times, access to library materials, and replacement of worn out or damaged library books as well. So it's something that it's a temporary fix, but it's not a long-term strategy. They'll really have to deal with that. There's also a provincial issue where there's a loss of revenue from development charges, and this impacts the 10-year capital plan for libraries. So it's not an immediate effect, but down the road, if they're not able to make up these revenues, it would have an impact on some of the work that's planned for redevelopment in the Toronto Reference Library. So some work that would help to improve services in Toronto Reference Library. So those are some of the challenges with the Toronto Public Library budget. The TTC budget went to the TTC board today, and that budget proposes fare capping, and this is something we found out about last year. Many of these parts of the TTC budget have been announced in the fall. So fare capping beginning September 1st, 2026, adult, youth, and senior riders will pay up to a maximum of 47 rides per month, after which additional trips are free. So that means that people don't have to at the beginning of the month when they're paying rent, they don't have to then also buy a monthly pass because they know if they go past 47 rides, which is basically the cost of a monthly pass, they will not pay for any additional trips. There's a plan in there to improve the fare capping program to reduce it to 40 rides per month, so it would make it more affordable in 2027. This is the third year of a proposed TTC fare freeze, and I can't remember this happening before when I think about TTC budgets over the years. So continued commitment to not raise fares for a third year in a row here. Introduction of crisis prevention workers on TTC platforms as well. And then there's funding in the budget for improved service levels. So increase to service hours by 2.2%. Financial support from the provincial government under the new deal with the province for the new LRT lines, Line 5, Eglinton, and Line 6, Finch West. And people may also know that Finch West was opened up last year and moving pretty slow. So there's also been some motions passed to try to get it to provide faster service. So that's also underway. Restoring peak service on line 1 and 2, the subway lines. Scarborough Busway, some great news that it would be open a year earlier, expected to open by end of September 2026, and also expansion of Wheel-Trans to support more riders, an 8.7% increase over the budgeted amount for 2025. The Police Service Board budget has also gone to the board. And we see every year that there's a significant increase to the police budget, despite challenges to that. And it takes up quite a bit of revenue from property taxes that isn't available for other programs and services. The board supported an increase of 7%, which is an additional 93.8 million from property taxes. So it's a total budget from property taxes of 1.4 billion and from all sources of 1.7 billion. And that is some of the early news, and we have we'll see through the process the decisions of mayor and council, and of course, so important for communities to be involved in these in this work to advocate for what we want to see in the city. And I'll pass it over to Israt. Thank you.
So I'll talk about city schedule, timeline, budget timeline, and how you can improve through advocacy. And conversation has already been started in October, and City of Toronto has conducted a consultation in Scarborough, North York, Etobicoke, and they through Albion Neighborhood Services, they actually consulted with committee groups. So what we have heard in those conversations, we're not surprised at that. People identified affordable housing, high cost of living, transit, lack of affordable childcare, lack of good job, and tenant support as concerns and priorities in those pre-budget consultations. Next slide, please. So I'll just elaborate on the city budget process a bit more. Here is a typical overview of the city budget process. City finance staff first prepare the budget, followed by committee consultations. Once the budget is officially launched, which will happen tomorrow, the budget committee reviews it. Public presentations and telephone town halls are held to gather feedback. The budget committee then holds a wrap-up meeting and sends the revised budget to the mayor's office. The mayor may make further changes based on public input before releasing the final budget, which is presented at a special council meeting for a vote. Throughout this process, residents can submit feedback to their own councillor or to all councillors, the budget committee, or the mayor if they wish to suggest changes. And we encourage you to do so. Next slide, please. Because advocacy works. Anyway, so this is the schedule for 2026 budget. The city held as I said, city held consultations in October in Scarborough, Etobicoke, North York, and committee groups through Albion Neighborhood Services. The budget will be formally launched tomorrow, January 8th. The budget committee will review the budget from January 14 to 16. The public will have an opportunity to make deputation to the budget committee from January 20th to 21st. Social Planning Toronto will outline the deputation process in detail during an upcoming deputation 101 training session on January 14. We encourage you to join if you are interested. The budget committee will conclude its review on January 23rd and forward the budget to the mayor's office. The mayor is expected to release the budget on February 1st. The final vote will take place on February 10, when Social Planning Toronto is planning a rally at Nathan Phillips Square. If you're interested and available, please join us from 12 to 1. Next slide, please. So we just wanted to encourage you to advocate and share your stories. You don't need to be an expert in understanding complex city numbers. Storytelling is the most powerful advocacy tool that we have. Knowing and sharing of lived experience of clients, friends, neighbors can be very powerful. Hearing your stories firsthand might open up new actions or solutions for the counselors. We all have a responsibility to share our stories with the world because our stories actually expose system flaws. Next slide, please. Let us talk about some of the advocacy strategies that work. Budget making deputations at the budget committee always works. You can do that as a constituent or member of a group or with someone if you are not comfortable doing it alone. You can also write or visit a city councilor to make your voice heard. It's within your rights to demand a budget town hall from your city councilor if the councilor is not organizing one themselves. Use data and budget analysis from experts to make your case. Most importantly, using lived experience and stories from family, friends, and neighbors are very impactful. Next one, please. Many people successfully organize community actions such as petitions, rallies, media events such as press conferences. Feel free to join other group to make more noises. Uh, you can set up a meeting for you or your neighbors to meet with your own counselor. That's totally within your right. You can also join other organized advocacy groups to amplify your voice. Next one, please. I just want to let you know that the social planning Toronto is very involved with budget engagement. We provide budgetary analysis. We provide information. We share information. We share updates with everyone. We create resources and we collaborate with the others in sharing resources and spreading the word and articulating your thoughts on city budget. So we encourage you to check our website, our resource pages, and not to worry, we will share all the information after this meeting. So you will have another opportunity to learn about them as well. As noted earlier, we are organizing a budget rally on February 10 around lunchtime outside City Hall. Please let us know if you are interested in joining, and we will share further details. Next, please. So we just wanted to share this 3 additional workshop that we're planning because it's very strategic. The way we organize this is very strategic. So we have a budget deputation 101 workshop on January 14th from 7 to 9 p.m. We have a housing focused advocacy workshop on January 16th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we have a budget town hall on January 19th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we are going to bring together a lot of experts who can tell us what's missing in the budget, what are the areas of investment, what else you need to advocate. So this is a great opportunity to kind of hear from experts about lack of investment in the budget or areas that you need to kind of advocate for. So we really encourage you to attend if it's within your interest range. So uh, we will share that information as well. Next slide, please. So again, these are resource pages on our website, and we will share that again with you. But these are great resources where that will help you articulate your thoughts better. And the way we organize our events from January 14 to 19, remember when we explained the budget timeline, 20th of January and 21st of January, we'll have deputation in front of the budget committee. So when you attend our events, you will have information that will help you to articulate your thoughts better, frame your arguments better if you want to depute. So, these are all connected together. So we encourage you to kind of participate. But I will hand it over to Jane now to lead us to a conversation.
Thanks so much, Israt and Beth, for your presentations. I just want to, before we open it up for any questions, and feel free to share your questions by raising your hand or putting it in the chat. Before I open it up, I just wanted to just reiterate how powerful it is to have more community members involved in the budget process. All the budget wins that Ishrat shared earlier were a result of community advocacy, Social Planning Toronto, and our partners advocating, individuals like all of yourselves, deputing at sessions, attending different kinds of consultation sessions, sending in letters. Those actually do really work. And sometimes we don't always see the results within that budget cycle, but there have been things that Social Planning Toronto, for example, has advocated around for years, and then didn't see a win until 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, but it still made a difference. So examples are things like better increased supports for drop-ins and emergency shelters for the unhoused, more supports for renters. We've seen increased funding for community services and programs. We advocated for the student nutrition program. We called for new revenue tools that we saw wins in around, for example, the luxury homes tax and others. We talked about how some past councils didn't have a high enough property tax increase, which I know some people are stressed about because of the high cost of living. But for many years, Toronto's tax increase was considerably lower than other areas in the GTA, and so it meant that there was less funds available for vital community programs and services. There was conversations years ago and less so now about the state of potholes and snow removal and tree cleanup and parks cleanup. And all of that has actually improved over the last few years as a result of increased revenue and the ability to pay for more city services and infrastructure. And that all happened not because city council thought it was a good idea on their own. That did happen eventually, but it happened because of community power and community engagement. So we really encourage you all to please do get involved and attend future sessions and events with us if you need more info on how to get involved.